Thank you for joining us for the Miami Valley Salute to Veterans. I'm Bob Daly, a volunteer host for the Miami Valley Communications Council. A longtime volunteer for the Communications Council, I learned the tricks of the trade by covering city council meetings in Bellbrook and Centerville. I am an old newspaperman and well aware of the need for an informed public. Public access television helps fulfill that need. We hope that hearing these memories from the veterans of our community will help us all better understand the dedication of those who served. Today we're talking with Roger Krass of Centerville, a Navy veteran who served from 1966 to 1971. He will tell us the story of his time in the military, but first, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now. I know you have been active in the community government and have a business in Uptown. Now, we'll talk about your military service, but what are you up to? What have you been up to?
Well, right now I'm semi-retired. I still have my business and still put in a day's work now and then. But my wife runs a business for me pretty much, and she's done a fantastic job.
And you were born in Springfield, Massachusetts. Came to
Right.
How did you happen to come to the University of Dayton?
Well, I decided that I wanted to go west
Go west.
far out. And the University of Dayton was the farthest west school that accepted me. So I came to Dayton and it became my home forever.
Good. And you joined the Navy then in 1966.
Correct.
How did that come about? And how did you choose the Navy?
I chose the Navy because I got a letter from the Selective Service Commission that my number was up, and I said, "Oh my gosh! I only have a few days to figure out if I want to go and get drafted into the Army, or find some way I could sleep in peace and not in the swamp." So I joined the Navy.
And where did you go for training?
I went to Great Lakes, Illinois, and dead in the middle of winter, and got up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to wait in the mess hall and stand in the rain and the snow and cold, and I got severe case of pneumonia.
Oh.
Yeah, and the military wouldn't believe that I was sick. They said, "You're faking it." So I wasn't faking it.
You weren't.
I was got on a Liberty trip. I chose Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I just went to the USO facility and says, "I'm sick. I need to go to the hospital."
Okay. And when did you then get out of boot camp?
January of '67.
67. And then what?
Then I found I was going out to sea on the USS Hamner stationed in San Diego.
What was your MOS? What were you trained for?
I thought I was going to be a yeoman. That's what I put in at recruiting. But when I got on board ship, I found it was an entirely different world. And since I wasn't part of A school training, which is basic training in a particular billet, that I was on the deck force. So I was on the deck force, scraping paint and doing all these kind of things I thought I wouldn't have to do.
And then you headed west.
Yep, and then an officer came by me and said, "How'd you like to be the weapons yeoman?" Sounds great. So I had my own office. I was just me and filling out all these forms for the amount of ammunition expended in Vietnam and taking control of armaments and that kind of stuff. And it was quite interesting.
I bet. And then you got over to Vietnam?
I got over to Vietnam, and they said, "We're now in the war zone," which means we're on military pay, wartime pay. And I ran up to the deck and look at the coast of Vietnam. I said, "Wow, that's Vietnam." Then I saw some splashing ahead of me. I was at the forecastle the very front of the ship, looking out, and there's splashing, and said, "Those must be fish." And the splashings kept getting closer and closer and closer, and said, "Not fish. We're being fired upon." So should I tell anybody? No. They'll find out soon enough as soon as one hits the deck. So I ran inside where it was safe, and we never got hit. And so far, as far as I know, the bridge never got the word that we were being attacked, we were being shot at. So I just kept to myself and just went about my routine.
Yeah,
But that was my introduction to Vietnam and to the war.
how long were you in Vietnam?
About 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Normal tour in the Navy on a deployment is about 6 months.
6
so
months.
we're in and out. Would go various places for refueling and unrepping, which is stores being delivered by another ship, by whether food or oil or ammunition. And then we went to various ports for a little bit of recreation, and that was quite enjoyable. So I saw a lot of the eastern part of the world.
Oh, good. What ports do you remember?
Well, I was basically stationed in Philippines, in Subic Bay, in Longopo.
Oh,
But we also went to our big R&R was to Australia. We went close to Sydney to a little town called Wollongong, in New South Wales.
yeah.
It was quite an experience. I went to Japan, went to Samoa, American Samoa. Went to Hong Kong, Japan, Hawaii, of course.
Boy, that's
So
great.
I saw a great deal of
Oh, good.
the eastern part of the world.
So you were over there for 6 months, and then what?
Then came back to San Diego, but the ship was scheduled for dry dock in Hunters Point in San Francisco Bay. So I spent some time in San Francisco. And then decided I want to go to that A school I was talking about earlier, the basic training, said I'll be a yeoman. So I went to yeoman school, and I lost my job in the weapons office, but I got into the ship's office and basically dealing with correspondence and officers' service records.
That sounds like good duty.
It was good duty. At that time I was the only yeoman on board ship. There was a couple other guys. There were personnel men that deal with enlisted service records, and yeomen deal with officer service records. So I had a good job.
And how long were you there?
All in all, about 2 years, from on board to when I got orders to Washington, D.C.
And was that in intelligence work?
It wasn't intelligence work. I applied for another MOS, a Navy Enlisted Classification, or NEC, as an intelligence clerk. And they gave me a thorough background check and went through all my high school friends and all my network relatives and neighbors. And I got a top secret military clearance, and they sent me to the Pentagon.
Oh, top secret.
Top secret. I'm in high cotton now.
Yeah, those are hard to come by.
Those are hard to come by. It's the best duty ever. No saluting because I was wearing civilian clothes, suit and tie, no uniform, no extra duty, no watches, no weekend duties.
What?
I was a civilian with military pay. I got married in between, so we got an apartment in Alexandria, Virginia, and it was close from Alexandria, Virginia to Fairfax, where the Pentagon is based.
Well, so you were, to an average guy in the street, you were a civilian.
I was civilian all the way. I had no trouble transitioning from military to civilian.
What was going on with the military at that time? That was a part of the time we had difficulties with Russia and
Well, we're mostly focused on Vietnam.
Vietnam was the big.
Yeah, that was the big thing.
was
I was handling communications for the intelligence service on wires. So I was getting all these top secret intelligence data. 95% of them were from Vietnam, from various contacts reporting this and that.
Yeah. What year would that have been?
That was 70s, late
70s.
late 69,
69,
through the 70s, and I was discharged in 71, early in 71.
Good. And then did you stay involved with the military at all?
No, I was thinking of going to the reserves, but I really want to get back to Dayton because I want to finish school at UD. I dropped out and got into the military, then came back. Then said I really want to finish my degree program, and I don't want to be involved too much with the military to distract me.
Yeah.
So I came back to Dayton rather than going to home in Massachusetts, and we set up our life here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so how do you, reflecting back on your time in the military, how do you feel? What do you think?
It was a great experience. I didn't want to go to Vietnam. I didn't agree with Vietnam, but the government told me you're going to Vietnam, so I'll make the best of it. I had a few injuries back then on shipboard and whatever, and took it in stride and got my honorable discharge.
What were the injuries?
I hurt my legs on board ship, and it later turned into osteoarthritis.
Oh my God!
And I had both my knees replaced. My right knee I had replaced twice because I had a super bad infection that just about took my life, and I was in the VA hospital with military complaints, and it was about a 3-year process of getting me back on my feet with 6 different operations on my legs.
Oh.
One on my left leg and 5 on the right to try to get rid of that infection. And with the Agent Orange exposure, I had prostate cancer.
Oh my goodness!
It was attributable to Vietnam. So, and that combined with PTSD, I saw a man on deck. We were actually back in the U.S. at the time, and we were belaying anchor, doing anchor details, and in San Diego Bay. And he was a brand new recruit, and he put his foot down in a coil of rope. And that's one thing they tell you in the military is you see a coil of rope, or line as they call it, don't step in it, no matter what. But as soon as they did, they belayed the anchor, and he went with the anchor, right through the hawse pipe, a little thing where the anchor chain comes through, and down to the bottom of the sea. I got stressed with that. It's not military wartime stress, but it was military stress. I just took that image with me, and it never left. It didn't affect me personally, but I was one of the few witnesses to it, and it was a horrible experience. The Coast Guard came out because we're still at sea. We're still at Anchor Point 1SD, which is the #1 anchor buoy in San Diego Bay, and they came and took him, and he was already gone.
Oh, that's too bad.
There was nothing.
Yeah.
There was nothing to say about him. I didn't know him, but he was a brand new recruit. Just his first few days on board ship.
And but your experience over there in Vietnam qualified you for an intelligence position at the Pentagon.
Yeah, I did. It did that, yeah.
Yeah.
I had some connections with the officers, and I was well thought of, and I was like the editor of the cruise book, so I have a base background as you do in journalism, and so I got to run the ship pretty much as far as getting along with the officers, getting along with the guys, and
Yes.
and getting through the war together.
Yes.
That was the important thing. We're shipmates,
Yes.
and we're one for all for one.
And so when you got discharged, you came back to Dayton.
I came back to Dayton and got a small apartment. Then we bought a house in Centerville, and about the same time, and I've been there 50 years now, living in Centerville.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. So I've been in the same house for 50 years, and I enjoy the community. I gave a lot to the community, and the community gave back to me. So
Yeah.
I feel I've done a good job for myself, my nation, and my community.
Well, good for the nation. As you look back, what impact did military service have on your life, on your career, on your outlook?
You learn to take orders. You learn that you can't be the big dog. You think you're the big dog, but you're not. there's always someone, and you have to learn to show respect and to be respected. So it was a good experience. I'm not sorry I was involved in it, even though I didn't agree with it. I did my job. I came out okay. I'm disabled as a result of my military service, but that has benefits, and as well as anything else. So I do get a pension from the Veterans Administration for my wartime service, and they take care of my medical needs.
They do.
So it's and my wife also has VA medical benefits, and she's very, very thankful for that.
Was she in the military, or because you get service?
I was divorced from my first wife that I brought to Washington, D.C., and 20 years later, I decided I needed a wife. So I instituted a worldwide search for a wife.
Oh, good. But
I had a contact in the Philippines, and I went to the Philippines, and my contact introduced me to her niece, and she comes from a very prominent family in the around Clark Air Force Base, Angeles City area, and we became married, and we've been together now for 8 years or so.
And the military veteran service is providing medical care for you and your wife.
Yeah.
Yes.
As my wife, she gets a pension as I do, and when I pass, she'll still get a pension and still get health care benefits from the government. So that was my big focus, was to get that rating of 100% disabled, and I was finally able to convince the government that what's wrong with me as a result of military service, and they agreed with me and gave me 100% lifetime permanent disability.
And do you work with the Veterans Administration here in Dayton?
I do. I do. I have an appointment next week for teeth cleaning. So they take care of me from bottom to top, or top to bottom.
Well, that's a nice benefit.
Right. A lot of people are disparaged by the VA, saying it's no good. But that the Dayton VA, which is the second oldest VA in the U.S., was built during just after the Civil War, and it's the oldest is in Maine.
Oh.
I think it's Lewiston, Maine, where the oldest VA hospital is, but we're the second oldest.
And they're taking good care of you.
Excellent care.
Yes. Are you active at all with any of the veterans organizations?
I belong to most of them.
Oh, you do?
The American Legion, the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars. I belong to disabled veterans, and I belong to just the Vietnam veterans. I'm not very active in them, but I maintain my contacts, and a lot of my friends come from that group. So the military's always in focus in my mind as to what they are and what they can do for me and what I did for them.
Well, that's a good story. Yes, that's a good story. You're a good representative of the service that the government provides, the Veterans Administration provides to looking back. What, in your military experience, is there any outstanding humorous moment that ever that happened? That you
Humor
recall?
in the Navy it doesn't go.
No, but it was anything that stands out, that's out of the routine, out of the ordinary.
Well, that hit me like a ton of bricks. But
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were in Hunters Point, part of the military base at San Francisco, and we were off the ship, and we were in barracks, and these barracks were real old. They were tinder dry World War II barracks, and probably used for Japanese internment during World War II. When the U.S. was rounding those up with Japanese descent to determine their fidelity to the U.S. And I got back and forth to the ship. There were some bicycles, so I took a bicycle. And it was somebody who didn't think I needed the bicycle. So we got back in a little bit of a to do with each other, some words, and I got slapped in the back of the head, and I turned and showed him I was now a petty officer, so I was above him, and there's the crow, buddy. You want to hit me again? The first one was free. The second one may not be. So I didn't press charges against him. I didn't want to make waves with anybody, make enemies.
Yeah.
I wanted to leave a good mark on my impression.
Oh, sure. Did you have you kept in touch with any of your buddies from the Navy?
I recently found a group. It's based in Washington, in the Baltimore area, called the USS Hamner Association, and a lot of the shipmates from the beginning, from 1945 when the ship was commissioned to 1973 when it was decommissioned and sunk by the Taiwanese Navy to the bottom of the sea. We sold it to Taiwan. And so there's a lot of contacts, and one of the contacts was the guy who worked with me in the ship's office. He was a personnelman, and so we've kept in touch with each other, and that's been the only contact I've had with anybody in my particular group that was on ship at that time. So it was a good experience, and they have a reunion every year in the Washington D.C. area.
Have you gone to the reunions?
I just joined last year. I just found out about it, and I was a little bit late for the reunion to write plane tickets and hotel tickets and all that. But getting back to your incidentals, when I was in Washington, D.C., I decided I wanted to become a pilot.
Oh.
And so I joined the Andrews Bowling Air Force Base Aero Club, which is a group of military people that enjoy flying. So I took flying lessons with them and started meeting my fellow student pilots. And one of the guys came up to me and said, "Hi, my name is G. Gordon Liddy." We were taking flying lessons together. And this was back in 1970.
Oh my!
Didn't know that he'd become famous, and I would not become famous.
Who other? Did you meet any other recognized persons? Any memories from the Pentagon? Any other?
I met my commander on the Hamner. He was transferred to the Pentagon just before me, and I was taking a bus ride back to Alexandria, and there was Captain D.L. Newgard sitting there. My commander said, "Whoa," and he had an empty seat behind him. So I said, "Captain, I'm Roger Krass. I'm a crew member of the Hamner. May I sit down next to you?" And he granted permission, and we had a conversation all the way back to when I had to debark. I told him about the incident on the forecastle with the anchor, and he remembered the guy. He was transferred to Washington prior to the incident. So it was a new commander at that time, but I kept him in touch with the latest up to the date Hamner information. So I felt good about that, and I'm glad I remembered about it to share it with you.
Oh, sure. Did you? I kept in. Had worked with the guided missiles and the Air Defense Command in New York City, and have kept in touch with some of my people. One of them just died not too long ago. What has the experience in the military meant to you as you look back? It was a long time from the day you noticed you were going to get the draft notice. The draft notice.
I still have a choice. I want to sleep in clean sheets every night. And that was a great experience. But that was actually like the beginning of my life. Growing up and getting through high school and all this, but the military gave me my bearings, told me how to be independent, and how to be a man, how to give orders and take orders, and that was the start. There's nothing else I attributed, whether it was Vietnam or anything else. It's a job. If you didn't like the job, do the job anyway. Do it to the best of your ability, and smile. And you'll get along just fine.
So it's been good for you. Would you do it again?
Definitely, I would definitely do it again. I wanted to come back when I had my degree and become an officer and talk to all those guys who I was enlisted with, but I never got that opportunity.
Had you thought about going for a commission?
I did. I was hoping to get a Mustang appointment from civilian to military to officer status, but I was in the wrong department to show that bravado and leadership ability. I was just doing my job in the office and little contact with the officer world.
It seems you've had a good experience. It's a great story for this series of interviews. Somebody who was injured and was able to provide a service in in a civilian suit going to work in the Pentagon. With a civilian
Yeah,
suit. Yeah.
It's like a city. It's the largest office building in the world, the Pentagon.
Oh yeah.
And it's a city in itself. They've got a shopping mall and restaurants, and it's an incredible place. It's five stories high, and it's in rings. The innermost ring is the A ring, and the outer ring is the E ring. And the A ring on the 5th floor is where all the top brass top brass reside. You go walking up there, and there's Marine guards everywhere at attention. And I don't want to open any door. I'm just here passing through, looking at things.
It was a good experience for you.
It was a great experience
as part of a military career to see it from that level.
Take from the very beginning to the very top of the echelon of how the military is put together. It was it's incredible.
Yeah. Well, as we're wrapping up here, is there anything we haven't touched on that you'd like to have on this tape?
Well, we've got a lot of people in this nation that they're different thinkers. They're being led by various groups and being pushed against traditionalism and against military and against values that I've grown up with and that I cherish. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights and service to God, service to nation, and military can fix that. If you give it a chance and do the job as a job, not as a venture. I'll do my own radical thing. I'll stay in my own group. With the military group, at least when I was in, it's pretty cut and dry. You wear what you wear, and your haircut is so, and you act as one. You're not an individual anymore. You are one of a vast array of folks that are solely dedicated, and that tradition is quickly leaving America, and everybody is independent, and everybody knows what they want to do, and they have no recourse. There's no parental discipline that much. We're afraid in schools to discipline kids. Parents are afraid to discipline children because children are suing parents. If I sued my parents, I'd be out in the street in a heartbeat. There wouldn't be anything about that. And so my dad was a police officer, so had a very, very strict upbringing. I didn't enjoy it, but I put up with it, and that's why I wanted to go off as west as possible. And my neighbor next door was from Dayton. He worked at Mound Labs, and I told him I was interested in the University of Dayton, and he told me all these great things about how great Dayton was. Okay, I'm going to go and make Dayton my home.
There you go. Can't beat that. Well, thank you so much, Roger. It's good to see you again.
It's a pleasure,
and thank you
my
for
friend.
talking about
about
your military experience, and it will go out and be broadcast here, and it will reflect well on the veterans, how the Veterans Administration helped you through.
Excellent.
Thank you
very much, Bob.
Thank you so much.